He always forgets about you, YouTube.
It's just Hang on just a second. Can you hear me now? It shows that we're live. And okay. YouTube, can you hear me now? There you go. Okay. If I had that in my face, I'd have caught it a little earlier. All right. Can you fast forward through the commercials? Chris, no, I'm sorry you can't. It's the one thing I get to control for just a little bit. So tonight I want to get in.
Actually, we're going to have a new club service, just like Netflix. And if you pay more of a premium, it'll be ad-free.
Oh.
So we'll tell you to tune in at 8:45.
Yeah.
8:30,
You'll get the notification that don't show up, right? Anyway, I appreciate it. I knew we should have raised the price of the club membership. We should add another tier level. No advertisements. Okay, so tonight is not all about moving heads, but it's about the adjust effect for the moving heads. And so one of the biggest questions that we get very frequently, in fact, the question got asked last week when we were, and I did, if you weren't here last week, we did a very short live video on the YouTube channel. You're welcome to go check that one out. And it was on the mapping screen of the moving heads and the bulk mapping and using the certified mapping and so forth. What I want to do and it was also on doing models, submodels within the models of the moving heads to make it a little easier to map things into for very specific reasons. Not everybody uses submodels on their moving heads. We do. So this week I want to get into a little bit more of the specifics of moving heads and not pointing them where they shouldn't go. And there's only so much. Keep in mind that whenever we deal with moving heads, they're an advanced item on the list of props that you have in your show. You have to put a little bit more effort into doing moving heads, period. And I'm very sure that if for those of you put your hands up in chat, put your hands up and share for those of you, and I'll read off your names. But how many of you would say that doing moving heads is like the easiest thing ever compared on a scale of 1 to 10? Is it 1 is easy, 10's hard? I would say that moving heads are one of the most confusing things that has ever been introduced into the hobby. And the reason for that is because no two moving heads are identical unless they're bought from the same vendor at the exact same time. And then from year to year, the stock can change. Even though things might work the same, sometimes they don't work identically. So one of the things that will happen to your sequencing over time, especially there are people that especially for the people that are using two different models of moving heads, you'll find that some of the moving heads that you have work really good one way, and then the other ones work really good another way, and you have to finagle them. So what hopefully I can share with you is how do we not flash into people's windows or finding out or marking out exactly where we don't want the moving head to spin to. But keep in mind that every time we use this, that you're actually going to, or possibly going to cause the moving head to not operate the way you see it in the video. The idea here, though, is to adjust an effect so that it doesn't shine into somebody's window. So we'll go ahead and get started I'll get into my moving head here, and we'll grab a DMX effect, which I have a shortcut key for. Now the basic movements of a moving head are, and you might have if you have a strobe channel, you might have to turn that all the way up. That's also known as a shutter. This one is an LED, so it doesn't need the strobe. I just turned the dimmer on. You can see it shine on there. Here, we'll put this up here. That's a bad place to put it. We'll put it right there. I hate Windows. I hate Windows with that big window at the top. And I didn't mean to move it. There we go. We should be good. So we have the moving head. It's turned on and in its native position of 0 and 0 for the pan and the tilt. For our model, it's literally facing down in people's eyeballs. What I learned is every moving head is completely different. I like to set a pan to specific. I like to set a pan from specific location so that I can spin the head either right or left. So usually I set the pan to 170 for all my sequences, and you can see it's clearly not perfectly centered, but we can perfectly center it if we go one way or another. And usually 171 could be straight on, but 170 is a more straight number. And it also depends on the location too. Like if it's on the right here, there we go. That one looks a little bit more pointed straight forward, and that's only because of the three-dimensional view that it's trying to make. So I always try to keep my moving heads at 170 or 171. 170 is about the center for me. That's where I think the center is. And I try to keep my tilt no lower than 30. And so as you can see, the tilt of the head is pointing straight out but slightly up. So if I don't want to I don't want to try to show off my 3D skills here, because use the other mouse for this. And I don't have the lights on in the house, but yeah, it looks like it's pointing up, but it's pointing straight out is what it should be doing. Close enough. But the idea here is that at 30, it's not pointing in somebody's bedroom window directly across the street from you. So whenever I start with these kind of things, I have a base layer that I put across my entire moving head, and it's usually 170 and 30. And that way, this is my springboard. I can go either left or I can go to the right. Doesn't matter. And whenever I do a tilt, I can go up to about 125-ish, 127. That's usually straight up in the air for me. With this kind of thing in mind, whenever I sequence a song using these moving heads as the model, you have to map from these. And so what happens whenever you get it is completely different than whenever I get it. So one of the things that you have to do whenever you are looking at the moving heads, let's say whenever you map it into your layout, and you see that the moving head is, let's say, at 30. Timothy Grinall, are you in the? If you're in the Zoom room, he's notorious for telling me that he hates it. He has to adjust all of our tilts up to 40 or something like that, because 30 is directly in the eyeball line of sight of the next door neighbors or the cars or whatever. I don't know what it is. And so he always has to use this adjust effect in order to make things work the way that he needs them to work for his head's conversion. So what this means is if you get the moving head in, and let's get the pan right here forward, so we're looking forward at it, and let's say it comes in and your moving head happens to be set on 30, and it looks like this. It's like literally pointing down at people, and you don't want that to happen. If that's something you don't want to happen, this is what we're trying to prevent. So let's say we come up with a number, and you have to test this yourself. You physically have to go out in your display, and you physically need to have your eyeballs looking out and seeing, if I set my DMX effect to a pan or a tilt number, is that interfering with somebody? Whenever it spins this way, what number is that? You have to know the numbers. The numbers I give you are going to be numbers that work with these moving heads. Your numbers are going to vary, so you're going to have to go out and do the legwork on this. And so what do I mean by this is I need to know if I pan left and right. Maybe I have a neighbor over there, and this is pointing way too far down. I need to make an adjust effect so that this tilt it doesn't come down any lower than, let's say, and you can click on this and use your arrow keys on your keyboard, left, and you can find the exact space where it's pointing, where it looks fine. That's a good number there. Then what you need to do is you need to come in here insert a layer above, and you'll do this for all of your effects. Once you've mapped them in and you've done your conversion, you'll add your own adjust effect. And this is the adjust effect right here. It's a screwdriver and a wrench. And you will select the effect. Now, this is only a 30-second sequence, but I'm going to push the Shift and Control key together. On a Mac, it might be, I don't know what Mac does, but on a Shift and Control, I'm going to hit the arrow to the left and arrow to the right, and that stretches it the entire length of the effect. And it turns on canvas mode here in your layer blending settings. And the canvas mode is really important because what xLights is going to do is it's going to say, hey, take charge of all of the effects that are underneath of me and tell them that we're about to do something all together. And so the next thing that you're going to have to do is change the blend mode from normal to additive. And so what happens here is we have to give it some sort of adjustment, and we're working right now on the tilt. So let's say we don't ever want this moving head to go down below 21, okay? So if that's the case, what we have to do is we have to know what channel that is, and to count your channel, to figure out your channel, you count backwards or from the top down. You can see on the DMX effect you have channel 1 through 16. And so we'll count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is our tilt channel in our DMX effect. Now, if you're smart, you can go over to the layout tab, click on your moving head, and you can go scroll through the list over here to figure it out. But it's just easier to look here for me and say, hey, that's number 11 on the DMX right there for my tilt. And if you know that that tilt can't ever go below whatever specific number that it is that you sought whenever you physically tested this in the real world, 21 here is the limit. So what we need to do is we need to say the adjustment needs to be set to a minimum number. And so we're going to start that at channel, that minimum number is 21. It can't go any lower than 21. And we're going to start that at the 11th channel. We're going to ignore the nth channel. I really don't know what that does. I don't know what everything does in here. So, and I certainly don't know what count does. But what happens here is if you have this effect and you have it set to something lower, let's say it's 12. And I move the adjust effect out of the way. Look how it points down. But now, if I grab the adjust effect, look how it points it back level. So it's not pointing in that direction that you need it to point to or don't want it pointing. So that's an important distinction. So if we render that again, see how it goes down, and it's setting the minimum that it can be. The other thing is when you flip the moving head on its other side. So there's two sides to a moving head on the tilt. And so if 12 is a bad number, well, what's the other end? The opposite end of the spectrum is 255. 12's the bad number. What if we play with 12 here? Or what was the number that we said it was 21? Let's do some quick math here. If 21's the absolute minimum on the one side, the opposite would be 255 minus 21. So 234 would be our maximum number. So if the moving head were flipped from one side to the other, we wouldn't want it to go over 234. So what you might do here is maybe this is 250, and that's too far flipped over the other side. Now we have our adjust effect. It's setting a minimum, but it's not touching the maximum. So what we have to do now is we have to insert a layer above. We have to grab another adjust effect. Now it already took on the canvas mode and it already took on additive because I just selected it before. I'm going to hold the Shift and Control key down. There's no, let me get rid of the timing mark. There shouldn't be any timing marks selected. There's no timing marks in this at this point. shift and control, arrow left, shift, control, arrow to the right, stretches it the entire length of the sequence. And so now we're going to change this, instead of minimum, we're going to change this to set maximum. And the maximum that it can be was, we said 200, we used the calculator, 234. So the maximum is going to be 234. I'll hit the tab key. And so now you can see it automatically leveled it off using additive, and it went over here and said, hey, don't let that moving head sit at 250. The maximum that it can be is 234. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a value curve on the moving heads. And I'm just going to grab this one right here where it's from 0 to 255 and then back to 0 again. And so you'll see what happens whenever we do this. It stops at that exact number, and it holds itself there until it completes it continues to complete the movement. And if the top peak number, it will hold it at that side too, but it will not let it turn to something. So maybe I could set it on its side here. There we go. But this is how the adjust effect works. Am I an expert at using it? No, because I don't use moving heads. But this is a question that everybody asks every time we get in a Zoom room. How do I avoid flashing my neighbors with the moving heads? So the same thing happens for the pan channel. And if you have, let's say, some pretty crazy movements on the pan channel, and I'm going to go from 0 to 255, and you'll see what happens here. Let me stretch this the whole length out. That should work. There we go. And you can see how the minimums and the maximums are working. If you need to keep it within a specific range, then what you're going to have to do is, maybe you can't go behind you. Maybe it can't go in a specific location. So what maybe you need to do is you need to insert another row here, and we can add another one here from earlier, from when we had done this. And I'll move these out of the way here. Earlier when we had done this, I had said 170 was about the middle, right? What you need to do is you need to find where your middle is. And then when you find where your middle is, and again, I always keep my tilt at 30. There we go. You might realize that the back side, maybe right about here, is a bad spot. So 94 is a bad spot. If that's the case, what we can say is we can set our minimum. And we have to change our starting channel, and so we have to go back and look at our start channel. So we know this is 11, tilt is 11, 10, 9. Pan is our 9th channel, and we'll change our channel to 9. So now we'll set a minimum, and we said the minimum is going to be 94. We can change our minimum number to 94, set minimum. And then we have to find out what is our maximum. And so our maximum may be turn the head, keep turning the head, keep turning the head. Oh, maybe that's it. 245 might be the maximum. You can't go straight back because there's somebody's house there and you're going to blast right into their bedroom window, right? That's what happens. That's at my house. I have people that live above me. So having moving heads flashing in their windows, yeah, it'd be a bad thing. So from this point, now we're going to just make an adjust effect, another adjust effect, and insert layer above. We'll go ahead and we'll put it on here. I don't want to get into the particulars just yet. We'll do that in a second. And we'll change this from set minimum to set maximum. on the 9th channel, because we're working on the pan and tilt, or the pan, not the tilt this time. And then we said 245 was too far. So if we have set maximum at 245, we'll say 245. And there's your maximum. I'll hit the tab key, and there we're good to go. So now it's set at 245. If we go to 250, that really shouldn't. I'm. Oh wait, maybe we have to change this to 9. Huh. There we go. As soon as you change it to the correct channel, it figures out, hey, that value is invalid. So this is part of what you might have to go through. So hands up for everybody in the room who do have moving heads. And if you have to go through this yourself and you have to pick out, because there's no way that me as a sequencer, sequencing for the 10,000 people in the xLights community, could ever guess where you guys are going to move your moving heads to and where they can and can't go. There's just no way. So we all try. I saw Matt put his hand up. So we always try our best to sequence within a reasonable amount of area that we know is pretty safe. And I know if we put the moving heads up on top of our house, which is where many people like to put them, and if we don't point in people's house directly across the street and we're slightly tilted up, I know that for the most part, nobody's going to be hurt by that. Most people aren't going to be. And so the masses can be pretty happy with that for the most part. But if you have situations that you have to avoid, then you may have to go in and begin editing. And then pretty soon your moving heads have, and again, so the other thing too, that I want to mention is that sometimes it's not the entire length of the sequence that needs this for the pan. The pan may only need it over top of certain parts of the effects that are causing an issue. And you can lay those down and you'll know after a while of doing this, you'll get to know which ones are the effects that are going to offend others that you have to watch out for. And you can set your minimum and maximums to match each other. Maybe you're going to select them and they're both this long. You can double click on, or you can select them. You can hold the shift key down on one mouse click on it, and then right click, and you can align and set both to match duration, and you can line them up wherever they need to be, and they'll be the exact same length. You can copy and paste them too, and maybe it's only in this one area that the effect is doing what it is in the specific area that it's pointing to, and it's only during that one part of the sequence. So maybe you don't need to stretch this the entire length of the sequence. Maybe it's only for a partial part of the sequence. So let's see if I have a sequence here that I have open, and so it's kind of hard. I don't want to set that off accidentally. It's kind of hard to demonstrate this on a layout where I've already taken things into consideration. But you may have 6 moving heads, and that means each of your moving heads is going to need a couple layers added to the effect above it. And so this is where I want to call out on to the folks that are in the Zoom room. Tom's here with us, and there are a couple other people here that have learned more about the adjust effect and are using it, and they have different uses for it. So what I want to do is, if you guys would, by all means, and I'll let you talk if you want to talk, or you can just throw it in chat. I'd like to hear some of the experience that you guys have had with the adjust effect and fixing things for your layout, and any recommendations that you might have for people that are kind of concerned about this exact thing kind of going through it. Again, this isn't a perfect science. Moving heads aren't perfect sciences. So Tom, I don't know. Tom, do you have anything that you'd like to bring up about the adjust effect? Put your hand up, and I'll let me see. I gotta find the meeting controls here. Where'd they go? There we go. I think I can allow. Oh, it won't let me.
They can talk now.
Okay, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, unmute there. Thank you, Rob.
One thing you can that I found very handy with working with this is I drew me a side view and a top view of my moving head, and I determined where the 0 point was, and it goes around the various numbers and comes around to 170, then it goes on back around to 255. So 1.5 turns is what a typical head will do. And if you draw that chart for you, and you draw it where you know the front and the rear of your head, that will help you with what you need to set your adjustment effect to for the head to be pointed at using the various level numbers.
So,
Just,
it
has helped a whole lot. And you do a same thing with the tilt, and my tilt goes from 0 to 255. Tilt to 0 is not straight down, but it's more 18 to 237 of my little chart here is front to back, with up being at 128.
So,
And that helped me
if
figure
you
out.
So once you recorded, once you went out and physically saw what that number was, and you recorded it, and you were able to say, okay,
Yes.
this is where my issues are. You wrote that down, kind of like I just
Okay.
did with an Excel spreadsheet here,
Correct.
and you record it, and then you say, okay, here's where my tilt area is. And how did you find it? What was your way to find it?
Just almost just like you just said, you know, I drew my little chart here, and I set up a DMX effect, and I set it to each one of these values, and I watched where my head pointed to using those particular values, and that's what I put on my chart to work from inside when I'm actually working on the sequence if I want to change something as I go along. But the little chart will help you more than anything else. Any spreadsheet or anything else will help you, is to have the visualization of where your head is going and what value gets it there.
All right, I'm
What-
trying to reach
like
over
for example, Like for example, 128 points a head straight up.
So for you, it's 128 is perfect straight up for you.
And I think that's pretty common for all moving heads. 128 will be straight up. Now, as far as the total tilt on the head at 0 and 255, you just have to kind of experiment with that with your head and a DMX effect and sending it out to a head and watch where it goes when it actually levels out. And that will give you one position. Then you keep bringing it over until it goes like 180 degrees. And mine is 18 and 237. And that worked on both heads.
And so you create one adjust effect for your minimum and one adjust effect for your maximum.
Pretty much.
And so this is the route that you took. This was your maximum, and I know that YouTube can't see this.
Maximum and minimum.
There we go.
And you can just cut and copy that for each head.
Okay. So then, did you also experience only having to put a pan limit on certain effects? Did you experience that as well?
I had to put a pan adjust effect to keep it from swinging too far to the right or too far to the left.
And did you stretch it? Did you stretch it the entire length of the sequence?
Yeah, you stretch it the entire length of the moving head effect, the DMX effect.
Okay. All right, Tom. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna open this up to Rob here, and Rob Z. Go ahead. Hey, Rob, what kind of moving heads do you have? Whose models do you have?
I got the Magical Light Show Aura moving heads. So, I mean, a few things I noticed. If you wanted to set a max and a min in one effect, one adjust effect, on the adjustments, there's
okay.
a range. You can set the range, which allows you to do the max and the min all together.
So again,
On
I
the
don't have
effect
moving
settings.
heads, and I never have to worry about this. So the adjust
Yeah,
effect
that was
is
something I picked up this week. You can set the range,
so we can set a range. So
Right. and you can do the max and the min together.
and so they're all one. So if we can't go from the back side, which is I think it was one, it was 225, 230. Let's say it's 230. Yeah, 245 is the high end, and then one. Well, let's go look. I want to say it's about 100. Let's say it's 100, just for the heck of it, right? So that's your minimum. So this here is saying the same thing as these two would be, provided that they were the same channels for the
Right.
tilt.
Yep.
And so you're using one effect. Are you stretching it the entire length?
Yes.
And that's the easiest way you found to do it.
Right. Now, since I want to import this into all my PPD sequences, I've created a moving head adjustment sequence that I can import to any song sequence that I get from you. The only caveat there is that I have to add a layer above for each of them before I do the import, or else it'll erase all the effects. That way I don't have to remember the settings.
So you could also, if you didn't want to import, you could create your, let's say these are your two set ranges. So let's say this says set range 2, and now you have 2 effects, right?
Right.
Okay. What you could come in here and do is you could do an effects preset
That's what I do.
and have an effects preset for your moving heads, and you could say new preset. I'm just making this up as I go. Adjust effect for moving head limits, and there you go. You got an adjust effect that's 2 lines, and it's only so long. And after you're done here, let's say you have your inserted layers right here for your effect. Then you can just double click on it and apply it. We'll close this, and so we'll grab them. Shift Control arrow right, Shift Control arrow left, and that fills the whole space. And so, if that's, I love I love presets. I've been using presets since the day it was added into the configuration in xLights, and it's super fast to do this. And I mean,
That's a good tip. I wasn't aware of that one.
That's what I do right there, the presets. That's so handy and so fast. It's like bam, 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 bam across 6 heads, and it's done.
so
All right. The last comment I got is on that. You said you weren't sure what the nth channel is.
yes, by all means, please share that, and I'll move my thing out of the way.
I'm not the expert, but my understanding is that repeats that command every nth channel. So if you have like a 16 channel moving head, you would want to set that to 16. Now, I don't think it matters if you're putting it on the moving head effect, but I think it will matter if you put it on like your group, like your MH intensity.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, I just default, I have mine at every 16th.
So
I set my nth channel as 16 because I have 16 channel moving heads.
if that's the case, and you put that only on the first moving head, then by nth channel, this is my brain, my logical brain kind of kicking in, which doesn't happen often. I'm sure Rob will laugh at that. that it would make sense that you only need to put it on the first moving head and it will carry it forward to all the other ones. Is that the case?
Well, in that case, you only got 16 channels on that row.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a group, then it would make a difference.
Oh, if it were on a group. I wouldn't. I generally I don't think about group sequencing whenever I do moving heads. I know the new moving head effect works with groups, but I don't know how reliably it works with groups whenever you have different models across that group. In other words, you have two different versions of moving heads inside the group.
Yeah, I'm not sure really if it's applicable to like adjusting the limits for the pan and tilt in this situation. I think it has more of an effect if you want to do an adjustment to the intensity, or something where you do have a group.
Yeah, that nth channel is the number of channels in the moving head.
Okay, so that's what you would put in here. Count the nth channel. And so in my instance, these are 16 channel moving heads. Again, I'm so used to just sequencing on this model or the Magic Light Shows model. Those are the two models that I've sequenced on primarily. And I've mapped a lot of our things over into some of the Your Pixel Store ones, some of the ones that Matos has, and some of the newer Dominars. But I've never had to work with them the way that some people need this adjustment, and so you guys having a little bit of background really helps a lot. But because it comes to the point where there's just things I'm not going to do, and one of them is I'm probably not going to have moving heads in my show. So you guys, thank you very much for your for participating.
Thank you, Clyde.
Anybody else have anything else that they'd like to bring up? As far as I don't want to get into questions just yet, but anybody who's had experience using the adjust effect, anything that we haven't brought up that you feel like, yeah, you know what, we could talk about this too, or this is something that I use it for. Go ahead and
that pretty well covers it.
This isn't like a super complex topic. It's the hard part is going out into your yard, using xLights and configuring it and finding out what those numbers are. That's the hard part. And so once you get to that point where you can do that and see it in real life and come in here and click on the DMX effect and say, whenever I'm here, this is bad. It needs to not be there. And this one here, this is bad over here too. And once you figure that out, once you have your minimums and maximums and you write them down, and then you just do your import into each and every one of your sequences, like Rob said, or you use the shortcut and right click and go into your effects preset and just apply it and put it across the entire screen. You can do that too. So Steven Stern put in the chat, he said, when done with the adjustment effect, select all and save as effects presets. So that's a good point. So what he's saying is, and I'll be a little bit more specific here. Let me put another DMX effect here. So whenever I sequence a moving head, for those of you who are not familiar with our sequences, I'll show you. This is a base layer effect. Generally, in my sequences, what will happen is we'll insert a layer below, and we'll put another DMX effect down, and that DMX effect will have the base start position in it, and it usually is pan set at 170, tilt is at 30, and so that way it's pointed forward and centered with the pan, and then I can turn the head one way or turn the head the other way, and I have that's kind of my launch pad, and I do this for pretty much every sequence. So what Steven is saying is, whenever you're done, insert a layer above, and then you can put your adjust effects in up here, and this could be your ninth channel, and this could be your minimum, maximum, your set range, and maybe it's 100 to 100 to 240, 245. And then you have your next adjust effect, and you have to make this, obviously, you have to make this additive. Right click, copy, and paste, and then you do your set range. Your set range minimum might be 40 is your minimum. You can't let it go any lower than 40, and you can't let it go any higher than 230, or what's 255 minus 40. Simple math whenever I'm doing live stuff. 255 minus 40 is 215. And that would be your range, and you change this to 11 because that's what our channel is. And then we make sure canvas mode is activated, and we have additive set as our blend mode. And you would insert a layer above on all of these. Insert a layer above. Copy, and then come down here and paste. And then so what Steven's saying is you could have this, you could have all of these set up, save the sequence, and then you could delete out all your DMX effects, and all it'll be left is your adjust effects. You can just select all of those, right click, and do an effects preset on all of them together, and just insert your layers above and apply it to it, if that's something you want to do. That's a good idea, Stephen. I never thought of that.
And that nth channel would need to be 16.
So this nth channel does need to be 16?
That's how many channels is in your head, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be. I've got one that's 16 and one that's 20.
So, so there's a good question, and I don't know the answer to it. Dennis said in chat, he said, does the adjust effect work on the new moving head effect? And I don't know.
No, it does not. You have to adjust it in the settings for the head itself, not in the adjust effect. There's some settings very similar to the adjust effect. It's in the setup of the head itself, but the adjust effect does not work on the new new moving head effect. Yeah, that's hard to say.
So that's the huge difference between that's the difference between the two effects, the DMX and the moving head. I'm very familiar with the moving head. I'm very comfortable with sequencing on the DMX effect. It's a hard sell for me to change all of our 300 sequences. I don't even know how many DMX effects we have now at this point, but in any event, I don't foresee being able to change them all over and rework every sequence so it uses the moving head effect. So, all right. Any more questions? Any more comments? Anything anybody wants to bring up as far as moving heads go while we're on the topic? I think tonight's is a really good session. I think people seeing this, especially me, again, I never claim to be an expert with moving heads. I always get these questions every year. I can't answer them because I don't have the experience. I don't have the experience of physically going out in my show and making those changes and adjustments. And so the only way we're going to ever kind of pick it up is if the people who are using these things will share what they've learned about them as well, and then I can bring it up. So, Rob, thank you very much. Tom, thank you for your experiences. I appreciate both of you guys sharing this, and we're going to end it right here. So, huge thanks to everybody. We're going to go into our open mic night session. You're welcome to ask any question you like. We're going to continue on. So, YouTube, Facebook, huge thank you guys. If you want to join us for open mic night session, you're welcome to. I know it's show setup, and we're still getting questions on, we're still getting a number of questions just in general about, hey, I'm having trouble. Can you jump in Zoom? Can we do a session? Is it too late to get some help for blah, blah, blah? So tonight we do this every Tuesday is open mic night, so you're welcome to jump in, ask questions, and if you need to get your show running, let's get it running. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now. Have a good one.